you're in a combat designated MOS, right?
Yes.
So how was that? How was that experience for you?
I got tested on a lot of things.
How is it? How was the experience of being probably the only female in your section and platoon? I would assume, right?
Yes.
So how was that experience? I mean, so it's a brand new MOS. It's opened up to females, right? Mm-hmm. You join, so you theoretically kind of pioneer that little piece, right?
Yeah.
Now you're in a combat designated MOS. Mm-hmm. You're doing field artillery, which is no small task, right? And no. you're having to compete and kind of hold up the or pull the gender lines, if you can say that, right?
Yes.
So how was that experience for you?
The experience overall, I can say, was knowledgeable. However, it varied. So I remember graduating AIT, there was, I want to say about 10 or 11 females that had all just entered the field artillery world. I'm talking all of 13 series. And so all 11 of us, 10 or 11 of us, we kind of stuck together. So upon graduation, we all get dished out. Everybody went somewhere new. And so of course I ended up at Fort Hood. And when I got to Fort Hood, I won't rat my battalion out like that, but there was no female latrine.
Right.
There wasn't even a bathroom that said female on it. And we would have to carry, I mean, you learn this in basic, you have your little notepad, you know. So I'd pull out my notepad and I would take a piece of tape and I would tape female on it after I had a male go in the bathroom and make sure nobody was there. And if you didn't, you were walking all the way back to the battalion from the motor pool, or you were walking next door to the ACS building. And so that was definitely interesting. I got tested on a lot of things immediately, like taking the belly plate off of a track. Mm-hmm. That is not supposed to be a one-person task, but that day it was, just to make sure that I could do this job, you know? And so that was fun. That was very exciting. You know, formation was extremely late, thanks to me. But I got it off.
I was gonna say, but you got it.
Yeah, I got it off. So that's what matters. And of course, over time, at first it was very lonely because I was the only female that I graduated with that came to Fort Hood, but there was a couple females that were already there. They were PFCs at the time. And so even I could even say, even trying to intermingle with the females that had just got there the year prior, yeah, that was even difficult because they had already earned their right or their way to say that, yeah, they had already been intermingled and they knew everything and everyone. And so for me, being the only one coming in 45 days before my first deployment, I had an extremely difficult time. But once, I would say about 3 months in, they were my family. I mean, I had got there so late in the game before that deployment that I didn't even get to put myself in connexes. I flew with it. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, so that kind of branched over into Korea and, you know, spent time in Korea and learned a lot more. And then, of course, transitioning to Fort Bragg. That was my last duty station. A lot more welcoming, a lot more intermingled. At that point, it had already been a couple years that females were involved. But I get to my battalion, same situation. There was 3 females. I was the senior specialist. I showed up to Bragg as a specialist, and there was a PV2, a PFC, and then one other specialist, but she worked for battalion. So I never really saw her at the battery level. Right. But that was a lot more acclimated to females, and they were very welcoming. And then I was the first female NCO in my battery. So I kind of took on a whole, with what I had thought I had overcome, it was like starting from the bottom again. You know, now you have to prove that you're a good NCO, you know, and that you can lead troops and that you know enough to make sure that your soldiers are squared away. And so that was a challenge in and of itself, but definitely one I was ready for. And here we are. Here we are.
That is such a cool story. You know, like, so the lessons you must have learned going through the whole thing, like, wow.
Yeah.
you know. And so one thing I always loved about the military, right? So I've been to different branches, and both of them have the same thing when it comes to being able to kind of comfortably, uncomfortably push you to that next level. You know what I mean? Over and over, and you really get to find out what kind of an individual you are, right? Like, do you focus under pressure? Do you fold under pressure? Do you know, like that kind of stuff. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
God, I mean, hats off to you. That's cool. That's so cool. So